Lyoto Machida retired Chael Sonnen round 2. Boy, this was much better than I expected it to be. And what fight does this mean? Or what does this what does this fight mean? Machida might get a title shot if he wins because he's Machida, but Vadim Nemkov is up there. When is Ryan Bader going to defend this championship? I don't know, but when you look at this fight, the funny thing is, I thought Chael Sonnen looked a lot better in this fight than he has at many other times. He closed the distance on Machida maybe quicker than anybody else ever has. That's impressive, despite Machida's age. Despite the age, I thought that was pretty impressive. And Sonnen hit a pretty smooth trip takedown that he couldn't do anything with, but Machida blasted Sonnen with that flying knee. And the thing is, when Machida has the action pressed, boys, he's an exciting fighter. And John McCarthy said after this, "Oh, you've returned to this elusive karate fighter." And I'm thinking, huh, homeboy? I mean, I adore John McCarthy's analysis and respect him. But I'm like, what? No, he hit Chael Sonnen with some big, filthy, nasty knees as Sonnen got a little too aggressive, doing what Sonnen was going to have to do to win that fight. Sonnen did everything that he could to win that fight and stay aggressive. Not only that, after that first knee, Chael Sonnen took a back bump. Thought he was done. No, he stuck through it. That was more grit that I've seen out of Chael Sonnen than ever before. And I get the feeling it's because he knew he was going to retire. We saw Sonnen hit with a couple of nasty body kicks, and then Machida quickly dropped Sonnen with another knee. Ground and pound followed it. That's it. Machida put over Sonnen big time. This was the most fun Machida fight, most fun Sonnen fight that I've seen in a long time. Hell of a way for Sonnen to go out. He went out on his shield. Probably knew that he was going to go out. He said that he had a 5-fight contract and he was wrapping it up. But, yeah, this was, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Chael Sonnen. I mentioned this in the video that we posted, but he was our first interview for Fightful MMA. It was a favor to Showdown Joe. And, our MMA section is growing. We admittedly got to do a couple clickbaity things on the YouTube. My apologies. But it's harder to break into MMA than it is pro wrestling. You can't just break MMA news. It's harder to develop consistent sources in that regard, or at least I found it is. And Chael Sonnen was willing to talk to us on the record, was my first guest on Wikipedia Fact Check. As far as Lyoto Machida, he could get a title shot, man. That's the thing. He very well could. When you look at him, he's got a win, a knockout win over Ryan Bader 7 years ago. Bader hasn't defended that light heavyweight title since 2017. I think he's got to do that soon. Corey Cropper's in the live chat. He said Chael Sonnen also caused you to drop kick a fan. Now, when I read that, I was like, what the hell is he talking about? I thought he meant a human. I'll tell you guys a little story. Before I was in the media, I heavily bet to my fight team and compadres that Chael Sonnen would lose to Anderson Silva. Needless to say, I wasn't happy with how that first fight was going. Then I walked out of an Applebee's only to get a phone call that Anderson Silva won. So everybody collected at my house. I'm talking 15, 20 people deep for Sonnen Silva too. When Silva won that fight, I stood on top of a couch and I missile drop kicked. I'm talking front drop kick, the kind you'll hear me bitch about on my wrestling reviews. A box fan across the room. It crumbled, my friends. Just obliterated. Pieces of that cheap plastic flying everywhere. And this is out of excitement, out of joy. I destroyed this box fan. If I did that in a pro wrestling match and I watched it back, I'd say, man, that move looks like it hurts me a lot more than it hurts the fan. But I don't care. It was one of the great all-time missile drop kicks thrown in the history of Ewing, Kentucky. That I can guarantee you. That box fan never operated again. Sometimes you got to express that joy. I got to stay a little bit more subdued. I want to know what your memories of Chael Sonnen are, guys. I mean, to me, I feel bad because he was robbed of that championship against Paulo Filho. That was his. And I know there are a lot of guys that are, I don't want to say guys, people that weren't watching MMA back then, man. There was a real conversation of, is Paulo Filho the best fighter in the world back then? He was a scary guy for probably a lot of reasons. But Paulo Filho was a wrecking machine. And he was 16-0, and he had just ran through Pride and was submitting everybody. Like, I remember he submitted Sulev in a round, submitted Sakurai in a round, Ryo Chonin in a round, Masaki in a round. Then he went over to WEC. He tapped out Sonnen. I think he beat Joe Dirksen too. But I mean, I remember like seeing his old fights, but like with Yuki Kondo and Ikushi Minowa, they weren't quite as dominant in that regard. But, you know, there were a lot of people that were like, man, is he better than Anderson Silva? Is he better than Rich Franklin? And Chael Sonnen beat him. Chael Sonnen beat him right. I mean, not right after, but after being tapped out. And then Paulo Filho went back and reeled off like 4 or 5 straight wins, I think, including ones at light heavyweight and heavyweight. So for a decade, Chael Sonnen was the only person to beat that man. Just, man. And he should have got the, I mean, Filho didn't mail him the title, but Chael Sonnen should have been champion. Yeah. But then again, what he was taken away from, I mean, you got to wonder what he took away from other people. That fight with Bisping. I don't want to speculate, but Lord knows what Chael Sonnen was on then. Who knows what he was on then? And he beat Bisping, and Bisping didn't get his title shot, and Chael Sonnen did.